Well, I hate to say it, folks, but I was right. The ANC were never actually going to be serious about its budget cuts and were never actually going to save any money.
Gordhan Gordhan, the Minister of Finance, proposed all of these budget cuts to the government, and the government has turned around, especially the cabinet, and said, Enoch, VOETSEK, it's an election year. We are not cutting any budgets whatsoever. We're going full force straight into, a budget deficit that will remove us from power and stop us paying grants. But, it's worth it in the end.
It turns out we were right, because the South African Communist Party has come out and basically had a massive, huge Barney and said, well, we weren't even consulted about this. How dare they do this? This is insulting.
And not only that, the minister in the presidency, some unpronounceable surname I can't pronounce, says the reason why she doesn't want to do budget cuts is she doesn't want to make South Africa look like a failed state. Because Byron, according to her, the inference drawn is that if the state saves money, it means that it is a destabilized, failed state. Between you and I think she's, moronic, to be honest with you. But the only person trying to save the country's finances is the Minister of Finance. And everyone else is just telling him, here's the middle finger. We will spend until Jesus comes back. Well, Jesus is just around the corner by the looks of things.
Problem is, Jesus is here, and they're saying maybe we can keep him at bay by doing a 2% VAT increase. But according to Davi Roots, an economist in the country, he basically says that would get us 30 billion rand in extra revenue. And don't forget that it would also impact the poor. Remember? The poor. So the problem is South Africa needs between 100 and 120 billion extra in taxes to fill the gap. VAT increase isn't going to do that.
No, it's not. So you have to increase VAT by 10%, and who knows, income tax by how many percent to fill that 150 billion rand gap. And let's be honest, this gap is only the current gap. This is no new spending. This is not with the NHI spending. This is not with some other retarded idea they might have in which they need more money. This is on current trends. We already have 100 billion rand deficit, but they still want to push ahead with NHI, and they still want to push ahead with who knows what else. What interests me, Byron, is that they're saying they refuse to cut any police budget because they want to keep the police around for any election-related violence. Now, call me old-fashioned, but there has been very little election-related violence in this particular country, unlike, say, America or Kenya or places like that. So what is the ANC really worried about next year? That they're worried about election-related violence. Is this a concession that maybe, their poll numbers aren't looking too good?
So the poll numbers aren't looking so good, but I don't actually think that's the problem. The problem inevitably comes, and you need to remember your history here, my friend. What usually happens around an election cycle? Well, IFP and ANC generally tend to go kill each other in places like KZN, which happens to be a very critical part of the country that the ANC do kind of need to win. But they probably aren't, because Buthelezi just died, the IFP are probably going to get the sympathy vote, and so historical tendencies of conflict are probably going to arise. The police could be pretty handy in that. So it is possible that you could look at this from a very legitimate point of view and say, maybe we actually need the police just to keep the calm in the country. A more sinister person may say, well, maybe what he really means is that he's going to pull a Magwabwa, and he's going to need the police force to shut up the oppositions because he steals the election. So this may be a preempt for the electioneering that they're going to be doing next year.
Yeah, all of this doesn't really bode well for the ANC. Stage 6 load shedding, not wanting to cut the budgets, still wanting to implement the 350, even though they can't afford to implement the 350. Even implementing a VAT hike of 2% is only going to give you a third of what is needed to cut the deficit as it stands. That's the ANC in 2023. It's just one big graft, and they're going to carry on until there's no more country or no more money. As simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of curious, though, because you have to kind of go out and watch this press thing that the SACP did. I mean, it was kind of like a Twitter video, really. It wasn't even a proper press statement. It was just Solly standing in front of a camera, with his mobile phone, talking some rubbish, which shows you that no one really gives a shit about what the SACP has to say, apart from the SACP. But anyway, Solly went on there and he basically said, he blames the capitalist economy because, he's a Marxist and he kind of has to. And he says, there are other options that we've given the ANC in order to fix the hole. Yeah, like what, mate? Because you got to grow an economy And as Davy Root said, the only way to get out of this mess is to grow an economy. But the only way to grow an economy is with the private sector, which the SACP don't like because they don't like private entities, well, because of communism and stuff. But they're saying the government should grow the economy with the government sector, but they've got no money to pay for it. And everything that goes into the government sector gets stolen. So how do these guys even think this is an answer, mate? It's just gobbledygook of crap.
I actually blame the white people. So, a few years ago, there was a new monetary theory, right? The new money theory, or whatever it was called, where they say, actually, guys, the state can't actually run out of money because they own printers, right? And printers make money for free out of thin air. And that's what America is doing. So it's not like overtly communist. Like 40% of all dollars has been printed in the last 5 years. America can do it because they control the world. If South Africa does it, we become Zimbabwe. So a solution for the SACP perhaps is Enoch, VOETSEK, David Masondo, Deputy Minister, member of the Communist Party. You can become Minister of Finance and you just tell the ANC, but guys, you can't run out of money as a government. And they'll be like, oh, great. That's probably a solution that they, suggested.
Money printer go broom. But I did make a suggestion to you at the time, which I think our video draws reference to, and that is Gordhan gets replaced and they put someone else in place who just is more inclined to just agree with whatever bullshit the ANC has to say. I must say, the news today is making me think that option 4, my option, seems like it might actually be the option chosen. And maybe you're right. Maybe the minister they get in charge of finance is a commie. I mean, this is Africa, mate. Why not?
I mean, we already have so many commie ministers anyway, so why not just make a finance minister a commie? I mean, Pravin Gordhan was Minister of Finance for many years, and he was a commie. Arguably, he's the reason why we are in this dire mess, because he's the one that borrowed lots of money to pay for social grants. And now look where we are. So they could just repeat that over and over again. But nevertheless,
I want to remind everybody that this is Africa and South Africa specifically. So what I would say is protect your money, protect your wealth. Go out there and invest in things like gold, actual assets, property, land. Because the rand itself might not really be worth a hell of a lot of money for a lot longer. But you should still have your house, right?